soldiers than you did.
All right, y'all, welcome to another paid review. This time, I'm going to be joined by Seji. I'm going to first give my take, and then me and Seji will combine our opinions of the final product as a whole. As you know, here on Coffee Comics, we judge such products using the MANAA standards, the MANAA ingredients. Does your product have familiarity? Is it relatable? Is it hopeful? Is it inspiring? Now, right off the bat, I will say this is familiar. It does have relatability, and it does seem to have a bit of hopefulness. But in terms of inspiring, because this is the first two issues, I don't know, not yet. I don't feel inspired as of yet. But it does have 3 out of 4. And if you have 3 out of 4, you have a very good product on your hands. Usually, we'd also look at passable if the author uses passable at all. But in this case, this is an American style comic book, and they didn't use passable at all. They went beyond passable, so that's fine. So let's get right into it. Basically, the story is about this character who's a trucker, and he is tasked with the job to deliver some cargo on the other side of town, basically. And he has one wild adventure. Now, for me personally, when I first read this thing, the familiarity was in the fact that it reminds me of early 2000s cartoons, some Nickelodeon cartoons. The closest I can recall is Danny Phantom. Now, the story is completely different from Danny Phantom, but the art style, the character designs, it just reminds me of those types of cartoons. And there's something that was bothering me though, that, bro, I don't know who you're selling this product to. Because young people today, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, yeah, they don't know early 2000s cartoons, and they don't care. When they look at this, because they are mostly anime consumer these days, anime consumers, a lot of American style cartoons today are things like, what's that cartoon called? Friends? Only Friends? Something like that, or Rick and Morty type cartoons. That's what exists in the American cartoon industry now. When people look at this, it can have some form of familiarity to the new generation, but they don't know what it reminds them of, or it's a bit foreign to them, right? And so for me, I was like, is he selling this to, well, millennials and an older generation? Because I don't think younger people would actually be interested. Just looking at the visuals and so on, I don't think they'd be drawn in. They'd probably say, well, it's not anime looking enough, or it's not enough like Rick and Morty, so I'm not interested. It's important that you understand who you're selling to, and you understand what's popular in the current generation. And what's popular in the current generation is manga and anime, right? So if you want to create a story, a product that has an art style that is of the past, right? Many people are not going to be drawn to it. That's like somebody right now creating Renaissance style art. How many people are actually going to be into that? You see, not many. But anyway, let's start. So it starts off with this page over here. And my first criticism is that I wish in this current 2 pages right here, there was a speech bubble telling us this takes place in the present. So something saying present day somewhere at the top over here, because the colors used in these 2 pages are the same colors used in the next couple of pages and so on. Now, the author is very good at understanding color theory. He's very good at creating mood using color. So that's great. But the problem is, when I first read this, I thought this is happening in real time. But then as we move forward, we realize that, oh, this is a future event, what's taking place here. We see Max over here fighting a gang that is trying to attack them, and he's pretty much protecting the two girls over there. But it was kind of confusing that bro maybe changed the color scheme of this page just to show that it's not happening in real time. This is a future event. Maybe make it green or something, I don't know. Or just put a speech bubble saying, hey, this is the present day, and then when we begin in the next couple of pages, it says 48 hours earlier, something like that. So I like the opening statement here that says, a wise man once told me, don't fear the fire, it won't burn you. It'll only burn away what you are not. This story is an extrapolation from the author's life experience, something that I always say is important. You have to do that. That's how you tell, well, how you can tell meaningful stories, relatable stories, because you're sharing an experience you've had, and no doubt about it, many other people most likely went through a similar experience. And this whole thing of it'll only burn away what you're not, I like that, because this whole comic is about adventure, the open road, a little bit of the fear of the unknown. But in a way, its main point is don't fear the fire, because hey, go on a journey on your own, you can get burnt. But if you survive, it'll only burn what you're not. You're gonna drop all the dead weight that is in your character. You're gonna drop all the dead weight that's actually stopping you from evolving, developing, improving. So I like that. And I honestly think we need more stories like this, because we be living in a world now where everybody has been confined at home. And this story, for me, it hit hard actually, but not because of the main character, but because of the side character actually. So I was like, all right, I kind of like this. So we see that they're having a standoff, and the dude gets totally punched to the face, and he passes out. Then it says here, is there going to be anything left to live for? He says this after saying this, and I gotta wonder when the smoke clears. You see, when it comes to existential questions like this, I like it, because that's exactly what this dispensation, this generation of people is going through. This absurd nihilism happening in the world. These are the right questions to ask, right? In a time like this, you're not creating chosen one character tropes, right? That no one can relate to. You're actually telling a story that pretty much commentates on the condition, the human psychology in this generation currently. That's how you create something relatable. So I can relate to some of the big questions that are being asked in this story so far. So as I said, it's got 3 out of 4. It reminds me of Danny Phantom, so it's familiar. It's relatable with such big questions and so on. But there's more to it. There's more to it to that. And then we have this foreword where the author is telling us or sharing something about his journey. So he says here, after a sudden breakup, the ranch I worked on and lived on changed hands, leaving me jobless and homeless. With only my 20-year-old Dodge Ram and my dog by my side, I embarked on a journey westward. This sounds and feels like a movie, but it's actually real. Dude put the pictures there, right? The cool car, the open road, him and the dog. This is pretty cool. With $300 in my bank account, I converted the old farm truck into a solar-powered RV and hit the open road. Over the next year, we braved snowstorms in Kansas, scaled mountains in Colorado, traversed the deserts of Utah, and camped out at Yellowstone. Along the way, we encountered eccentric truckers, broke down in desolate, crappy towns, and even had some paranormal encounters. So that's very interesting. Bro most likely saw some ghost action, some Bigfoot, the Mothman possibly. That's really cool. Extrapolating from reality and putting it in a story. That's how you create impact. These adventures served as the inspiration for Cargo, a story written from the front seat of my truck. I hope readers will feel the same sense of excitement that drove me forward on my journey. See, dude extrapolated from his own reality. This is how you create impact, people. It's really simple. But if you've been sitting there in the computer your whole life, right, just drinking beer all day, you have nothing to share. You haven't been on the open road. You haven't been anywhere. So finally it starts, and I'll be straight up right now. I don't really like the main character. He seems like your average Chad sort of character, Bruce Willis type of character. Like, oh, he's just another action star. Yeah, he's just generic. So I don't really like him. I don't find much interesting about him. I actually like the girl more because I can relate to her story a lot more. So he's driving off, and his friend on the monitor there is telling him that, hey, you better get ready for this job we're about to do. He has to pick up some cargo and make a delivery. And so, real quick commentating on the art. Yes, it's cartoony, and I like how the author simplifies how he draws vehicles. It's really cool. It's really nice. He's working with what he's got, right? He's heavy duty stylizing everything, but it looks just fine. So I dig it. I dig it. So then he pulls up to the meetup spot where he's supposed to pick up the telephone so he can be told what to do. But the guy in the telephone is telling him that, look, there's the package, there's the deposit. Don't ask questions, just deliver the package. And he has a problem with that. He wants to know, what am I delivering? But the guy over the telephone doesn't care. He just tells him, just pick it up, put it in the truck, and deliver it. And then we see him try to do exactly that. But then curiosity gets the best of him. But over here, as he's kneeling down and trying to tie some rope, he has a flashback when he got stabbed. And I really like how the author plays with the colors over here, because we have all sorts of saturated purple and red and orange, and then all of a sudden we have this blue and white sort of page. And that's really cool. I dig it. I dig it. And it does make me wonder what happened here. He's calling out to somebody. So I really wonder what had happened. But anyway, curiosity gets the best of him. And then he tries to open the box to find out what's going on. Then the telephone rings and tells him no peeking. So he realizes that he's being watched. And he walks away being all rowdy, and he was about to get bitten by a rattlesnake, and somebody watching him shoots the snake for him. And that's pretty much the end of chapter 1. And then chapter 2, we're introduced to this girl. This is the character that I relate most to. So she starts by saying, hey dad, you once told me that the toughest step is the first one. But ever since I left home, I feel like I'm flying, pushed forward by the thought of finding you again. This, to me, was a breath of fresh air. Her saying, but ever since I left home, I feel like I'm flying. The idea of standing on your own, fully independent, is one of the greatest desires this generation has, right? Financial freedom to the absolute max. You will feel like you're flying. You will feel like you're walking on water. you will feel like you're going on a grand adventure. Of course, that's if the job you got ain't breaking your neck, you know. That's if, of course, the assets you have are actually yours and are not a pain to maintain. But in reality, they kind of are a pain to maintain. But the idea of maximum independence, self-reliance, it just hit home for me. Because it's like, man, dude, have been feeling that moment of being stuck and all. And I remember the days when I was like Omega level 3. You know, the sky was the limit. And then COVID happened, screwed everybody, right? And those memories still linger at the back of my mind of like, man, remember when you were just soaring like that? Yeah, that was real cool. So this hit home. Though her whole mission is she wants to find her father, right? This part I couldn't relate to, but I could relate to her excitement of just being free. But her mission is to find her father. And so I like her more because immediately I know her mission. Unlike the main character, Max, his mission is just to deliver the box. That's pretty boring. That's not personal. You're just doing your job, sure, but that's not personal. You know, it doesn't hit home for me. You just want to deliver a box and get the money. That's boring, bro. Right? But this girl here, she wants to find her dad. That's a personal mission, right? That is her ambition. And I'm like, all right, I like her more. And this is how it's supposed to be. Because notice that it's the first page of chapter 2, and already I am hooked. I'm hooked. Had this character not been in the story, there would have not been a hook for me. I was not hooked by the main character's own ambition. I was not really hooked even by the forward. I can appreciate that, okay, the bro is extrapolating from reality. Good, that's how it's supposed to be. But ultimately, there was no hook. I need to be able to relate at a personal level. At a personal level with some of the characters. That's what's going to keep me reading. Because I want to see that character win. I want to see that character achieve what they want. Because in reality, you might not achieve what you want. So you want the characters to achieve what they want because you want to live vicariously through them. That's how it's supposed to be. Now, there could be some Neanderthals who say, no, stories don't have to be like that. That Neanderthal still doesn't understand that this is the coffee comic standard of judgment. And if they don't agree with it, they can shut up and change the channel. But they can't do it because they have nowhere else to go. So, we see this cool cover over here, then a nice sunset, and she looks all happy. And then she whips out her adventure log saying, it's been 12 years since Mom and I moved away, since we said goodbye, but I still hear your voice every day. Even after 3 years without a letter back, I have faith in my heart that once I get across the valley, you'll be waiting at the lighthouse. And we'll catch up on all that lost time. Now, I wonder why they moved away. Could it be that the mother was just one of these crazy feminists who just hated the father because he's a man? Maybe, you know. But I really wonder, why did you move away? And so on. But I like it. I really do. Her taking out this little journal, this little logbook, it's cool. It's really cool. A really great sense of adventure. It also reminds me of Red Dead Redemption 2. When I played that game, the main character, Arthur Morgan, I think was his name, he also had a journal. He would write stuff in there, he would draw stuff in there, and always would be on a crazy adventure. Red Dead Redemption is definitely one of the best games ever. Now, the best game I've ever played my whole life, don't think there's a game better, is The Witcher 3. It's gonna take a lot for any developer to outdo that. But in the Arthur Morgan Red Dead Redemption case, it felt so much more like a personal story. Arthur was just trying to understand the world accept the world he lives in. You know, he wanted to believe he's a good man, but he sure as hell wasn't. He's a murderer, a thug, a bandit, you know. But those internal struggles he had that have killed so many people, how can I be good? What am I supposed to do except move forward and so on? I like those moments, right? Because it shows that the character is actually human. He can self-inspect, right? He can self-examine himself. He's not a dingbat just consuming and doing what he's told like some drone. He actually writes down his thoughts. He wants to think about why he's doing what he's doing. That's good. That's how it's supposed to be, right? So she rides off, and then suddenly her bike starts to fall apart. She gets the user manual to tell her how to fix it, but unfortunately she just makes things worse. And then we see the main character with the truck coming along, and he sees the girl asking for help over there. And obviously he'd be like, oh, she looking fine. But then he remembers that, you know what? This could be a trap. The road pirates round these parts ain't above the damsel in distress routine. I let her in here, and next thing I know, she's got a knife in my back, and all her boyfriends are coming up the bushes. Now, in this moment, I could relate, because it's true. Many times, I wanted to give somebody a lift, and I was like, oh snap, somebody actually told me that you could get stabbed giving somebody a lift. Even if it's a female, especially then, because the boyfriends really do be hiding in the bushes. So it just reminded me of like, man, this world we live in, it's so hard to trust anyone now. It's very hard. You don't want to trust anyone. And it creates a cycle where people end up hating other people because no one wanted to give them a chance. Like, because that person got screwed, they'll look at the next person as, yeah, you're probably gonna screw me over, so I don't care about you, and keep it moving. Someone who genuinely needs help, you might think, no, it's a trap. And that's the reality of the world, so I like it. I could relate. I could relate to such experiences. These experiences in this story is relatable. So he totally drives off, doesn't care. And she says, wait, come back. And other cars are coming along. And she tries to stop them, being all entitled and all. And they drive right past her. And she says, well, I guess chivalry really is dead. Yes, it's dead. And feminism killed it. Suck it. So she decides to be a strong, independent woman and pick up her motorbike and walk to the next rest stop. And yeah, that's really interesting what's going to happen later. I really like this moment, how you can see the transition into nighttime. Notice from this page onwards, there's like a gradient transition to these cool blues and purples to show that it's nighttime. So I really like that. I will say though that I don't like how there are no white spaces in between, how everything is black. So I just wonder how everything would look if there was white spaces, because the black is kind of messing with my eyes, honestly. It's not a big deal, but I'm just curious that, bro, if you remove the black, see what it looks like. I think it would look better. I think it would make everything pop out more. The black makes it feel like it just makes our eyes completely locked in to one panel. I think it having a white background, it'll help everything pop out more. It's just an experiment. So we see Max talking to his friend over the phone that he's paranoid, he thinks he's being followed. And the friend tells him that, bro, chill, that's not the case, and so on. We've been working together for 10 years. So this is a little bit of backstory about these two's relationship. I like the green, to show the different atmosphere what type of person this guy is and so on. So that's pretty cool. But I wasn't really interested much in their back and forth at all, really. And then he remembers something about Delphi City. And I really like this panel here where there's an adult hand grabbing a child's hand, and the contrast of colors really works well to be like, oh, he's having a flashback or something. So that's really nice. And he's told further that, bro, just focus on the mission at hand and so on. Then he goes to the rest stop, but then later we are brought back to the girl and we see her still pushing her bike, and she's about to be attacked by some coyotes. So she has lost her way because of the sandstorm. Now she can't see the road. And she says something here. Remember what Dad used to say, there are many roads, but only one true path. And then she falls over and the coyotes are pretty much ready to devour her. And this is her first challenge. You know how in the hero's journey, the whole call to adventure and then the first stumbling block, overcoming it and so on, it follows that formula very well, but using the girl, not using the main character, which is fine. But if the author wanted us to like Max more, sorry, bro, I like the girl more. I really do. So we see Max talking to himself here. Oh, and the radio is being told that the whole place is under quarantine and he should take care or turn back. And then we jump back to the girl who is not backing down, which is cool to see. So she gets up, takes the bike from, not that the coyotes would steal the bike, but she takes the bike and runs off into a cave. And she cries, somebody help me. And this kind of did remind me of a moment in time in my past where I came home late at night in one rough area and some dog was on the loose and it came after me. I thought it was the end. And I remember calling out for help. Nobody came. I was like, man, am I gonna get killed by this dog? This is crazy. I was holding my laptops and everything. As she's holding her bike, your hands are full, right? And I was like, man, this ain't gonna be pleasant. But for some reason, the dog ended up leaving me alone. So, in a way, how these coyotes leave her alone, but the reasons why they leave her alone are different. Because that dog, I don't know why it left me alone. It just left me alone. So the coyotes are just standing there and she says they stopped. Okay, go away. Then suddenly the wind blows and blows her bag away. The coyotes are laughing at her. Then she says, I should have never left home. This part, I know the feeling. I have learned from experiences of others who did leave home, leave their country, leave everything behind. And then they were met with a giant stumbling block where they thought that maybe I shouldn't have left because look where I am now. I can't deal with what's happening right now. But in the end, what happens next is she says, no, I can't give up. I know he's out there. She really wants to find her dad. But for me, it was like, if you make the decision to change your life, right, you have to be willing to die in a cave like this. Because what you ran away from was not improving your life. There was no way you were going to improve where you are at. There was no way you were going to get $1 million where you are at. You left for a reason. You were uncomfortable for a reason. That's why you left. And if it means dying in a cave just so you can feel independent, then that's what you gotta do. So I was like, yeah, I totally feel it. That feels real good. Sounds real good. Don't give up. Die in the cave if you have to. And some hunchback might be like, no, that's ridiculous. Well, you're a coward. You're a coward, and that's exactly why you're a hunchback. You're mad that you can't stand on your own, so that's why you gotta come and destroy the lives of those who are trying to stand on their own. That's what makes people hunchbacks. They are failures in what they want to do, what they wanted to do, and now they are destroyers of people's dreams, people's hopes, people's difference of opinion. And they just can't hear anything outside of, this guy hates me because he's different from... Complete hunchback. So she starts singing My Little Light, tries to set a spark to start a fire, and the coyotes start wilding out, and she tells them to keep quiet. But they do keep quiet only for one reason, as they run away. And then she says, as a kid, I'd hear ghost stories about the valley, how it was cursed, and that monsters lived there. And it seems like some worm, nasty, plague-ridden werewolf has come out of nowhere to take a bite. So, and this is the end of chapter 2. And this was great. This was a great ride, but had it not been for this girl, I would have not enjoyed the ride thus far. So let's jump in, where Seji and I are going to discuss some more about this product as a whole and then give it the final rating. Okay, y'all, so now I'm joined with Seji, and he's going to be giving his take on Cargo, what he liked, if he found a hook in it, and so on. So let's get right into it. First off, yeah, Seji, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. Let's get it.
All right, bro. What's your take on Cargo so far?
So far, amazing art. Just want to say that, fresh off the bat, it's amazing art. I would totally commission this artist to do work for me if I wanted to make an American style comic and I didn't know how to draw myself. Like, what's his name? Andrew. Yeah, he definitely does not lack in the art department and conveying what he wants to convey through that. And his coloring skills definitely grabbed my attention, like right off the bat. That's something that a lot of creators nowadays, I feel like, don't really pay attention to. But yeah, he did that very well. I feel like, honestly, that's what carried my interest through this story. Just gonna keep it brief because it's like I don't want to just ramble or anything. But immediately, I don't think that there was an immediate hook for me to be invested in the story. Really, like I know you said that you felt more relatable to the female lead,
yeah,
as opposed to the male lead, and I don't know. Me personally, I'd rather relate to the male character, especially if he's the lead or seems like he's the lead. That's just me though. But I can tell that Andrew put most of his effort into the female lead's character overall and in her design, which is all right. It just didn't feel relatable to me.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to the color as well, because while I did praise the color, I want to echo the sentiment of you as well, Moosey, that it was a little too much. It was a little overused. In MANAA, we know that we use the selective coloring technique, which means, let's say one of these pages, because all of them are colored, it would be majority black and white or monochrome with maybe one or two panels with a splash of that red, just to make it stand out. Like, it was just too much. It was too much of the red color, to the point that when you get to, what page was it? It was page 17 and 18. You feel a sense of relief because it goes from red to blue, and it's like, damn, like, this is refreshing. I hope it stays like this. And then it goes right back into it. So it's just like, I understand the atmosphere that Andrew was trying to create with it, but I felt like he could have dialed it back a little bit with that. It would have made the reading experience a little bit more pleasant for me personally. And, you know, I want to say again, he's an amazing artist and everything. I just felt like these are the things that didn't connect with me, you know. One more thing was and this is just another nitpick. I'm not really a fan of the font that's used. It's too scratchy for me. but that's only a problem when there's a lot of dialogue happening, you know. But I guess that's the Western comic book, you know, way, you know, the jumbled up text, you know, all together and everything. So I guess it works. And in the context of what's happening in the story, let's say like, what page is this? Page. Damn, y'all don't want to show me the page no more. Well, he's on the phone. He's in the phone booth. Oh, it's page 14. Page 14. He's in the phone booth, and it's just like, okay, that's cool. You're having a conversation. You're on the phone, so that's cool. But I don't know. I'm really big into reading direction and guiding the reader. You know.
Yeah.
So it's just all jumbled up. Other than that, like, yeah, it's cool. But I feel like we've been getting a lot of people who draw very well, but it's just certain fundamentals that I feel are lacking that will disengage the reader, you know.
Definitely.
But I would check out the third chapter of this just to see if they would maybe, you know, take the advice. If they didn't, that's cool. You know, this is a personal nitpick. I still think that this is the presentation. It's a dope product in terms of presentation and everything. It's just not something that I could hold a full conversation about, like, wholeheartedly with an invested mindset, you know?
Right.
So that's basically the gist of how I feel about it. But Andrew, you did great. Like, I think this is a cool product. I just feel like there's, like, things that I had mentioned, not even all of it, just some things would make it more digestible for me to be invested in or to become invested in at some point.
And I definitely agree with the lack of a hook thing. That at the end of the day, as I said in my take, had it not been for the female character, I would not be hooked, because the male character, his ambition is something I can't personally relate to at all. And I be telling people that, look, in this dispensation, the best type of story to tell is a story that coincides with the struggles of the current condition of people, right? So with this girl, her ambition was, hey, she just wants to leave home. She wants to be free. She wants, like, self-reliance, self-independence. And how she said so in this page here, page 23, her saying, but ever since I left home, I feel like I'm flying. You know, that a lot of people gotta go backwards these days to cope with the costs of everything. So now a lot of people gonna daydream about just doing what they want whenever they want because they're independent enough. So that's just an easy thing to remember, that, guys, at the end of the day, if you want people to care, it has to be relatable. Any hunchback, banana-brained Neanderthal throwing eggs and saying it doesn't have to be relatable, that same Neanderthal is not going to purchase a story that he cannot relate to. So it makes no sense to listen to such banana heads. There's no point. But
Right.
going to the color thing, definitely my eyes were scorched, bro. Even now they're getting scorched looking at all this red up in here. When it came to the blue, definitely it felt a lot better. So Andrew, I hope that in chapter 3 you'll dial it down a little bit, because yeah, it's a bit much. Well,
yeah, try to check out my video on the selective coloring technique, man. I mean, you probably don't identify with MANAA, or, you know, but check it out and see what we're talking about. It may be something that you can implement in the future, you know. So yeah. Once again, great work, bro. You know.
What do you think of the? Because I had mentioned that I'm not a fan of the areas where it's supposed to be white, it's black. Like normally, you have a
Yeah.
panel and then you have a space, and the space area is white. But here, everything is black, and it makes it less. It makes it pop out less. So
Yeah.
that's how I felt. How do you feel about it?
Well, immediately, whenever you use black in like and we're talking about the borders and everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually, in manga and in mana, that usually refers to flashback. You know, so honestly, it just felt like a huge flashback to me because I noticed the black panels right off bat. So I was like, okay, um, yeah, that's the type of stuff that makes it like I don't know. I'm not gonna say boring, but it disengages. You know,
Yeah.
I
Something
don't.
just
Yeah.
something just don't feel right, for a lack of better words. It just don't feel right.
Hmm.
But it's an easy fix, something to
Yeah.
experiment on. So it's an easy thing to check. What do you think about? Because I had mentioned in my take as well that, hey, who are you selling to? Because I was thinking that maybe millennials will be into this because we grew up on Nickelodeon when the cartoons were not, well, brain dead, with that Danny Phantom art style. Um, People like us who've seen cartoons like that, American cartoons like that, yeah, we can see this and feel some sort of nostalgia and feel like, yeah, this is familiar. But now,
Hmm.
the young generation identify with Smiling Friends, Rick and Morty, Adventure Time, all sorts of like weird art styles that are not my favorite at all. They just like noodle characters meant to be
Right.
unappealing. And so, what do you think about his target market here? Who can, because clearly this is American comic book. What type of American would actually want to buy this if not millennials?
Like people fans of that desert punk shit. Like I feel like that's what it would be because one thing I did, I don't know what is it. What is the name of that game?
Borderlands,
Borderlands.
yeah, Borderlands.
Yeah, it gives me that type of feel immediately. Maybe that, maybe the audience, but also I feel like this would also appeal to the Latino audience, the Latin audience. It just has that aesthetic, you know.
Really? How?
Yeah,
I don't know what you mean by that. So can you explain?
I don't know. It's just an art style that I see at the same time, like with all of this shit, like the combination of all the techniques used. I just seen that a lot with those artists, you know, and for the fact that it's like more of a barren type of setting.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing really lush about this. It just
Oh,
feels
I
like
see.
it's,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying anything about the culture. The culture is like not like nothing like lustful about it or anything, but it's just like I've seen a lot of stories with Hispanic creators who go this route. You know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I remember the movie Once Upon a Time in Mexico. There was a lot of barren shots and
Hmm.
a lot of desert, a lot of I see what you mean. A lot of orange as well.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it. Okay.
Usually describe a.
But ultimately, good product. So what rating would you give it and why?
I'd give it a 7. I'd give it a 7 because, like I said, it's still a well put together product. It just didn't really hit for me personally. I could still see this being in a store or something. I could still see this person getting a co-assignment and doing all that stuff. But this just isn't something that I would particularly pick up. Okay, me being me, I'd pick it up just to have it to look good on my shelf because it looks cool, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wouldn't be something that I would wholeheartedly be invested in. So yeah, I would recommend this to somebody who likes this style of work and are into Western comics, but not for myself. So I'd give it a 7.
Okay. I would say under an American style comic, it hits all the high notes, really. I would give it a 9
Yeah.
under the American standard. Um, it's a good ride. Some interesting characters. Still, the female's more interesting. And if the author's intention was that the girl is more interesting, then that was a success. If not, it's a problem. But
Yeah.
under the coffee comic standard, I'd give it an 8 actually, because I really did relate to what the female actually wants and so on. So I was like, cool, that's really nice. But reason why it's not a higher score is because, hey, I'm a dude and I do want to be more relatable to the guy, and he's the main character anyway. So it's like, yeah, bro, gotta fix that. The black borders is also a bit too much, along with the color, the orange, the red, the yellow, got to be dialed down. But other than that, yeah, it's a solid product. So that's it for now, y'all. Next, all future reviews are gonna have Seji as well. It is now $40 per chapter. Prices have gone up. You don't like it? Oh well, then don't commission. It's fine. Any last words, man?
No, sir. You said everything.
Yeah. All right. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.